Welcome back to another tips video. Today we're going to talk about DAT files. This is going to be probably more of a basics video, so if you're an advanced user, you've been in Lit support for a long time, you can skip this one. The reason why I want to talk about DAT files is I got a question which was asked multiple times, and it talked about how to create a DAT file from CSV or from Excel, or basically talking about how to make a Lit support compatible DAT file starting from like a delimited file. So I figured I'll explore some of the options that I use to create the DAT files. Let's say I start with Excel or something like that, and how I would go about making a proper concordance delimited DAT file. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show a couple of ways we can do it using paid applications as well as free applications. Let's jump in. So right here I have a couple of CSV files. I have commas and quotes. And so the way question was asked also is, what if I have commas in my CSV file? So let's open those up. And let's say I have my commas and quotes file. So what you'll see here is my fields are separated by commas, which is CSV comma delimited file. However, some values do have commas inside of them, and those are enclosed by what's called text qualifier. In our case is quote. So if you have something like that, this will work just fine. All the applications will recognize that whatever's in quotes, whatever's inside of a text qualifier should be taken as is until the closing quote is present. So if you have like a comma there, make sure you have quotes around it. If you were to have commas only, such as in this case, this would not load at all. Like, you would have lots of problems with this kind of data. You must have quotes or some kind of text qualifier. So let's say if we did get this file, right? What do you do? Like, let's say we don't have anything. We have to fix it. So let's open this in Excel. And so if I open this, I'm going to resize this a little bit. I see that my data had shifted, right? So I had commas here, and see how this column should be lining up with this column, so everything moved over. There's really not much you can do except fix it manually, right? And what I mean by fix it manually is just take the value from here and copy it and just paste here, comma, so and so, and I believe this should be also bill, right? So we're going to apply that to here. And then for this case, we do need to take bill over here and put comma, like so, and then copy this all the way down. Now we're going to select these, and I'm going to say delete, shift cells left, and now we lined up. However, this column we also don't need, so we're going to take this, and we're also going to delete and shift cells left. And now we can save it as a proper CSV file. Now, this of course is not a practical solution in fixing things if you have a lot of data and everything shifted all over the place. However, there's situations where this is all you get, right? And in that case, you talk to a client, you tell them like, look, yeah, it's going to take tech time. We're going to sit there and, fix it. And you find a volunteer, or, well, you pick a volunteer who you're going to sacrifice for this project. And they'll be just sitting there doing this all day long and make sure they save in their progress regularly and do that. Had to do worse things than this, but this is something that you would have to do if you have commas inside your values. And the data, you just have to use the data. However, if you don't have that problem and you have proper delimited files, then you're fine. All right, so let's talk about two ways you can take this there. So let's say you put this into Excel, and now you need to make this into a DAT file. So at first I want to talk about two paid ways you can get it done. And these are really cheap ways, right? I'm talking about like super cheap, under $100 for software. So first piece of software is mine that I saw on my website. It's called EDD Toolbar. And there are lots of different options that'll like make a dir list, put it right in Excel, all kinds of cool stuff. But let's say you want to take some of this data and save it to a DAT file. So the way you do this is you start with a selection. So you select part of an Excel, and then you just go save to DAT. And now I will pick my folder, and this is going to be here. I'll call it export1.dat. And then if we go to that folder and open this with Ultra Edit, you see that we've taken selection from Excel and we dumped it right to a DAT file using all the proper delimiters, no messing about, super quick. This is kind of why I wrote this application, because this is just the absolute quickest way of getting a proper DAT file out of Excel. So this is a solution that I offer. I sell on my website. It's #legal.com. It's called EDD Toolbar. It's $100 a year per station. Well worth it. Now the other solution, also paid, is called DAT Daddy, and this is from a company called ENF Discovery. So again, this, I believe this one costs like $50. So a similar idea. You go into Excel, but the difference here is you don't make a selection and you just hit export and it'll export everything out. So we can go create export to, click OK, start, and there we go. So we got data exported. So now if we look at what we got, we see that we have our records exported. So just like with the toolbar, except my toolbar takes a selection and this one just exports everything. Either way is fine. So I highly recommend you get one of those toolbars because they just save so much time. Like whatever you're gonna pay, $100, $200, even $1,000 would be nothing if you get to use it all the time. The speed at which you can get things done is important. So I highly recommend you get one of those too. And there are others out there, so I don't mean to say this is just the cheap and easy way of doing it. Now, if I have a delimited data, like commas and quotes, and I need to convert it to a DAT file, I like to load it into some kind of lit support software, right? And then perform an export using correct delimiters. I do not want to do search and replace inside a DAT file. Technically, you could do that. You can have a file where it says, all right, we have a concordance delimiter, so let's copy this and go here and then do replace, comma, to... You can run into issues, especially with commas inside here. You can do like a quote, comma, search and replace, then you do comma, quote, search and replace, quote, comma, quote, search and replace, and then new line, so quote, new line, quote, search and replace that, right? So you can probably get away with that. I generally see, this is how I usually see messed up files, is because somebody tries to do something like that and they get one step incorrectly and then the whole thing is messed up. So what my preferred method of doing it is actually a longer process and is loading data to concordance. Now concordance, everyone probably has concordance, so I would consider it a free way of doing it. So let's load this CSV into concordance and then export a properly formatted DAT file. Now, the first problem you're going to have with concordance is building fields. So if you want to use new, and concordance now has this really awesome import wizard, which will build all the fields for you, except that they have to be a DAT file. It will not support a CSV file for creating fields. For whatever crazy reason, they did not do that. So if you have already good DAT file, it'll build a structure for you. But if you don't, you would have to go to File, New, and build every field. It's no fun at all. So let's do it the other way. So we're going to go here, going to take our header row and just put it into a new file. And now I'm going to take my concordance delimiters and I'm actually going to search and replace. But note, I am only doing this in a header. I'm not doing it in bodies or anywhere else. I'm also going to take the quote character, put it in front and behind, probably press enter so it looks nice. Let's save it, and I'm going to save it over here, and I'm just going to call it headers.dat. So now when I'm here, I'm going to say enter database name, desktop videos. We'll make a new folder called database, database, our DAT file is going to be our headers. I'm going to say next, and we can leave everything as default. I mean, you can mess with fields. I generally don't. We're going to pick the first one as image and key. Click OK. Yes. Next, 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 next. Create. Done. Right? And so now we can kind of see that we have loaded our header row into concordance, and we can see everything lines up as it should. But for whatever reason, if you don't trust it, you kind of glance at it like, yeah, it's good. All right, so now we sort of cheated and we used the fake header to build our structure. So now we can go ahead and zap this database. Zap means delete everything in the database. And then go to Documents, Import Delimited Text, Import Dialog Box. We are going to change our delimiters to comma and quote, which I'm entering on the keyboard so I don't have to scroll through the whole thing. Our date format doesn't matter because we made everything a paragraph. I'm going to hit go. I'm going to click on my CSV, right, because we want to load commas and quotes. Open, 38, it's been loaded. We can go to a table view, preview it. Again, I do recommend you look at it, make sure nothing got shifted left and right and so on. And then we're going to go to Document, Export, Delimited Text, Export Dialog Box. And now we want to reset our delimiters to be, so now I can't type. So we're going to pick our 20 to 54. We're going to include everything. And it is up to you to include the header or not. And let's give it a name from concordance and go to that folder. And don't run away from me. Click on open. And now we have a DAT file that we have a really high confidence that this will work in whatever lit support system you're going to load this to. You could technically do it with relativity because it will load a CSV file and an export delimited file, but everyone's got concordance, which I assume everyone does. If you don't, you probably should. Yeah, and that's kind of it's the way I would go about creating a DAT file from non-lit support data from CSV or Excel or something like that. And if you have Excel, you can save it out to CSV and then go to concordance. So there are just lots of different ways, but this is one of the ways to create proper lit support DAT file. Anyway, hopefully that answers the question. If you got any more questions, put them in the comment section below, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. All right, I will see you on the next video.